What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to layer my paints. There isn't a lot of paint that I'm going to be using. So I'm going to start off with my white. Let me think, why am I going to do that? My white is going to be on the bottom, so that's what's going to show up on top. And so I'm going to start off with the white. I want the white to be a little light. I meant the blue to be a little light, so I'm going to use my most aggressive blue on the white. That is the ultramarine. Then I'm going to use a medium blue, the mid-tone blue. I'm going to come back in with some of my white. And then I'm going to come in with the other blue, which I have more of that for some reason. And what is happening, if you can see it, is it's just forming a puddle. I don't think it's sinking. My cerulean blue looks like it's sitting on the top really nicely. I'm going to put some of the ultramarine blue. I'm going to put the remaining portion because there's no some left. It's just ultramarine blue. I'm going to scrape that off in there. And then I'm going to put some more of the manganese blue on top of the ultramarine. One of the things that you'll learn as you're doing acrylic pour painting is that the color mixture will matter. Probably not so much, since all I'm using is blue and white, various shades of blue and white. But in the grand scheme, you'll be very careful with the colors that you put together. But so often you end up with mud because you put the wrong color combinations together. I'm going to make, let's see, this is going to end up on the bottom. I think I have enough white, so I'm going to just pour the white on top. I think I've used up everything except for maybe a little bit of the manganese. All right, no more, well, there's a drop of white. With a flip cup, you don't have to flood your canvas. What flooding means is that you put down a nice runny layer of white paint, and then you allow the white paint to provide a flow for your other paints. I don't have a whole lot of paint, and I want soft water, so I have a bottle of pre-mixed white paint. I'm going to put a little bit of it down and ensure that my paint reaches from one end to the other. So I'm going to use this as a kind of, and I'm just going to put it down here where I think I want my water to go. And I'm going to call that enough. So I'm just spreading a little bit of the runny white base so that I can flip my cup on top of it. And this is, yeah, I'm going to keep it thin at the top because I want it to run more toward the bottom. That way I don't have to worry about being concerned about whether I have a weird result when I put the mountains in. And I've already determined that I'm going to do a swipe for the mountains. So let's see what happens. What I'm doing with this is, probably doesn't matter, but because these edges on this canvas board are thicker than if you were using just a regular old, ooh, I missed big time. But because I'm using a stretched canvas on a frame, I don't want to flip this up and then pour paint all over myself. Then the edges are a little bit, I would say this is about a 1/2 inch thick. And so I'm using this, and when the paint goes over the side, it looks better if it's consistent. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it looks better if the paint is over the sides as opposed to starting and stopping on the edges. Some people will paint the edges when they're finished, and that's the solution too. So here's why it's called a flip cup. You take your cup, you can do your canvas like this, and then you flip it over. Or if you wanted to use just your wrist, you could just hold the cup in your hand like this and then flip it over onto it. But what I'm doing is I'm just flipping. So this is my water. It's made of blues and some whites. And all I'm doing is allowing the cup to drain onto the board itself. Oh, but that's pretty. Look at that. It already looks kind of like water. And all I'm going to do is gently move it so that it flows from one end to the other. I actually have cells in here. I'm not as concerned about cells. If you see that, it looks like cells. And I'm not as concerned about that because all I want is the mixture of the blue and the white. And the blessing with water is that it doesn't have a pattern, so I'm not concerned about patterns or anything like that. I'm just trying to get a something that looks like water. And I'm going back to this other side, if you can see it. I'm already kind of excited to see that this looks like water to me. There's a lot of white. Maybe I was a little aggressive with the white, but when you move it from one side to the other, you will see that the colors will stretch and move too. What I didn't do, and this is a rookie mistake, so I admit it in advance, is that I didn't torch my painting, and I can see some little bubbles. And I will torch it afterwards, so that's not going to be too much of an issue. But you do want to torch your paints before you let them dry, because what happens is the bubbles will pop and you'll end up with little craters in your final product, and you don't want that. Maybe you do. If you want little craters, then go for it. Don't pop your bubbles. One of the things that I love about this painting expression is there are no rules. Everybody tells you what they do. That becomes their rule, but it doesn't have to be your rule. So do what makes you happy. Maybe with a little more color to the blue, but what it does as it's flowing is it just looks like a gentle kind of water. And if I keep my sky color from being too aggressive, my watercolor will be just fine. So I'm not going to squabble. And the other part that I'm enjoying is that I didn't use so much so that it's flowing all over the place. Even the part that's still white looks like water to me. Okay, so if you can see that, you see that I have something that looks like water. And this is my torch. I got this off of Amazon. It is a, I guess a baker's torch. They use it in the kitchen. And it's a 901 torch. I got it because I like the color red, but they had it in silver and black. And what you use the torch for is to clear the bubbles off your paint. And it comes on, I don't know if you can see the flame, but it's a blue flame. And don't get too close to your canvas. You want to be far enough away that you don't burn your canvas, but close enough to pop the bubbles. And it really doesn't take that much, so don't get too close. Wait, here it is, I'm popping my bubbles. And continue. If you see this part, you see that my water turned out beautiful. But what I did is, after I had done the flip cup and I saw all the white there, I touched a part of the canvas and all this blue popped up. And so I used my finger and a popsicle stick, and I continued to lift some of the blue up to the surface. And now I have a beautiful impression of water.